Let's try this again. Good morning. It is 11:01 on Wednesday, the 28th, I believe, of October. And it looks like the recording is going to stick this time around. I am driving on my route to a couple of properties. Just left the office a few minutes ago, and I've been in I won't say unusual state of mind, because it is pretty usual for me to have states of mind similar to what I'm experiencing today. It's just not very often. So again, it's a matter of terminology and expressing what the idea is, but it's going to come down to the interpretation of the words. Just kind of a technical breakdown of exactly what I'm going through right now, and don't know if it's relevant or not, but it was on my mind and felt I needed to express that. And I'm in between states right now, and I've touched on this briefly in other recordings, but I had a really, really long night last night. Some kind of deep, unusual dreams, which are an indication of a lot of non-physical work happening either wherever. That's a whole nother topic of discussion of where we go when we are unconscious. But there are times when there's the ability, the capacity, and the possibility that you leave your body and go take care of business elsewhere, depending on your makeup and who you are and what you are. And again, all topics for another discussion. But last night I was away, and I'm feeling extremely exhausted today. Hard to focus, but there's a certain amount of clarity that I'm having on certain subject matter, which I felt that it was too relevant to skip over today, because generally when I feel like this, I may try to make some voice notes and try to document the circumstances and the experiences I'm going through, but it's really, really hard to articulate and put into words, because you're really not all here. Just imagine that when you go to sleep, you maybe visit someplace else, and then you always return by morning and wake up refreshed. But on certain occasions, if you are inclined to, and it's part of your makeup, may be involved in some other type of, for lack of a better word, work that you are doing in a non-physical form, or maybe in a physical form in another reality, another dimension. It's hard to say. But the bottom line is, when you go to sleep, you leave your body, and if your work isn't done, if you don't finish what you set out to do, the task at hand, you may not make it all the way back, which would lead to a feeling of just kind of disorientation, obviously very sleepy, because of you did not really get the rest that you were expecting to get, and you're only partially returned, enough to be functional to get through your day, but definitely not optimal. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm functional, but not optimal. But it's really kind of shifted my scope, or focused my scope, and there's certain trigger words and keywords that have come into my reality here in the last 4 or 5 months. Scope, focus, awareness, have really shifted into the idea that it's time for me to have more interactions with people, and I've noted that, and I've made attempts to be more interactive, but the word that's really stuck in my head now is engagement. The level that I engage others, that I engage the world around me, and participate in, that engagement, which would be the interactions. And since everything, one of the core concepts of my reality and my belief system are action, reaction, interaction, it's kind of a pivotal point in my life, and where my scope is right now is focusing on engaging and having those interactions. And I've really kind of turned to social media, Facebook in particular, to try to symbolically make that move towards engaging. I've tried to be more of a participant in those exchanges by simple things like liking different things that people may put on there. And there's been a lot of things that I've seen over the years since I've been involved in Facebook. And like I said, it's been more of an observatory path that I have taken. I just kind of watch and see what everybody else is interacting and what they're doing. And there's been a lot of stupid things that I've seen on there, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Why would I even get myself involved in this? Why would anybody take the time to put themselves into involvement with that? But aside from a judgmental perspective, I'm trying to engage more with the people and some of the things that are out there, and not only get myself used to it, but open some channels of communication to others. And again, largely it's symbolic of moving forward in this path, and it'll based on my experience and my experimentations, will lead into more heartfelt, more deeply personal interactions with the ability to communicate a different idea towards people. And the last couple of days has been, like I said, more pivotal, which I think is what led to some of the dream work last night. I've experienced a lot of anger and rage over the last couple of days just based on my work, and it's really given me more of a perspective and an understanding of how scope as a concept really affects us as human beings, and the ability to limit your scope on specific items such as your work, and even more specific items as some of the interactions of your work, that it can detract from your experience of life. And that's really where this kind of started a few months back. Was I was so focused on the dissatisfaction I've had with my job and my work, and so heavily engrossed by and involved in some of the really trivial, meaningless things that my job can bring me, even though I decided to give them a certain level of importance, and it affected my being, affected my existence. And this is no different than anybody. I just have the ability to right now to step back from it and explain how it came about and why. And again, this is, at this point in my life, is about communicating those things. It's about presenting a picture of how I live my life, how I view my life, reality from my perspective, because I feel, trust, have faith in the idea that my way is the new way, and those that are open to seeing this new way can have more fulfilled lives, can reach higher levels of potential, higher levels of happiness, enjoyment, some of the key things that I think are pertinent to this life and this experience. And this morning, like I said, just partially being so wiped out and tired as I am, I don't have the energy to be angry with the situation that I've been dealing with over the last couple of days, which is good because it's allowed me detachment, and it's been detachment by default because I've just been too tired to be focused on it. And last night I was so focused on it. Yesterday when I left work, I was so angry, so pissed off at another individual for just being ignorant, and that's one of my biggest things, is dealing with ignorance on a daily basis, because it's out there. I mean, it's a fact of life. There's always going to be levels of intelligence, levels of evolution, and the ability to understand what is out there. And I truly feel mine is at the highest end of human capacity at this time, and I'm really trying to push those limits, not only to push my understanding farther and expand those limits for me personally, but to expand them as a race, as humanity as a whole. And by doing that, just by pushing those limits, I'm in effect changing our reality. I'm making it possible, and being how we're all connected, it's indirectly allowing others to reach those goals, because I'm making it a reality. And it's no different than the ones that have come before me. And it's really kind of hit me this morning, because I really struggled with a term, because there's got to be some kind of a reference, there's got to be some type of a term to help people understand where I'm coming from and why. And there's been geniuses throughout history. There's been philosophers, instructors, religious leaders, as far back as we can document humanity, and each one has come to serve a certain purpose, and it's all a voluntary service. You choose to come into this life, and at this level, the level that I'm at, it's really work. It's to help make a transition when the transitions are happening. Everything runs in a cycle, so there's always going to be these cycles of change, of shifting from old to new, death of the old world, old belief systems, old ideologies, and the birth of the new. And there's always going to be people that will appear in physical life and humanity to help facilitate those transitions. And I am no different from any of those, and it's still subject to being human. You have emotions to deal with, you have rules, physics, things like that you have to work around, work with, and try to. I mean, there's rules that you have to work within, and obviously you're trying to change those rules. You're trying to change those laws of the universe, and help people understand that during these expansion periods. And a lot of people have failed throughout history, may have never even heard of, that had the same capacity and potential, that were never noticed or never identified, and that's basically by choice. Everything comes down to the choices you make and the understanding that you get from those choices. And I feel like I've been really, really clear in my life, and it hasn't been easy, but I have a firm understanding of why I'm here, what I have intended to do, and the potential and the goals that I have set out for myself to accomplish before this is all said and done. And people such as me that have come throughout history have prophesized different things to come, and it's not necessarily a prophecy, it's more of an understanding of the way things work. And it's easy to make a prediction based on that understanding, and it's not so much mystical as we have all really thought as humanity that it was. It's prophets of the past, which is a term that it implies a certain understanding, and it implies a level of awareness that's above and beyond the norm. But the term itself, I think, is not applicable. It's antiquated, outdated, however you want to term it. I've really, I think, settled this morning just on a kind of a whim that visionary is definitely more of a term that I think is applicable, suitable for those people that have come before me and myself. And again, it's not so much a mystical gift to predict that tonight the sun is going to go down and tomorrow it's going to come back up. It's understanding the cycle. And that being said, it's just as easy to say, after this shift, after this cycle of transition that we're experiencing in our reality, in our universe, that we'll go through a period of whatever, and there'll be other smaller cycles along the way, and will eventually lead to another grand cycle similar to what we're going through now. And there will be people that will become, present, activated, be born, unless we've evolved past the need for birth and death, that will come again. So when a prophet or a visionary makes a prediction that another will come, it's not really seeing into the future. It's understanding the cycle and knowing how the cycle works, and saying there's going to be others like me that are going to come. They're always going to come to help facilitate change. And that's where I'm at. And like I said, I'm 44 now. I've spent my entire life, as far back as I can remember, and I can't even say this enough. It's going to come up here, there, all over the place, and anything that you might find, because I've been writing. I've been writing articles. I've been writing essays. I've been making voice notes for years and years and years. And there's stuff that's just out there. So there's going to be bits and pieces that are kind of come about. Somebody's going to come across, and it may be attributed to me, or it may not. And I just lost my whole train of thought. Anyway, so it's important for me to keep keep mentioning that I have had a certain amount of clarity of consciousness since very, very early in life. My view of the world, my thought process in the world has not changed from birth. It's expanded. My scope of understanding and my ability to absorb has grown as I have grown physically and through the years. But the way that I approach life, the questions that I ask, and the way that I ask them, I can remember doing as far back as I can remember being alive, which was still in diapers. I remember being in diapers and having these thoughts. So, less than 3 years old, probably. I have recollections. I have memories of looking at the world and trying to understand it. So we're really talking about 40 plus years of focus and desire and drive to understand. And for the last 10 years, I've really felt like I had enough understanding to explain it to others. Whether others are willing to accept it or not, there's going to be a certain amount of reluctance. But there's going to be people that welcome me with open arms, and that I'm looking forward to. And I've really struggled with the idea of the ones that are going to be combative. And it's not really been a struggle, because I am willing to combat anybody on any level, on any grounds, to fight for basically what I believe in. And fear of death is really not present. The biggest fear is the fear of loss of completion, putting myself in a situation to potentially put my life at risk over a circumstance or a situation or an argument that wasn't really necessary, didn't have merit. And that's a downside of my makeup, is that I'm willing to drop everything and fight to the death for whatever's happening at that moment, even over trivial things like an ignorant tenant moving out and wanting to dispute their deposit reconciliation when they have no ground to stand on. I literally, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. I want to fight to the death to prove that I'm right. And it's having to deal with those and make decisions to let that go and not make that a big deal, so that I can continue to move forward, so that I continue to use time that I am here to make a difference. what good would I be doing if I allowed myself to be taken out of the game over a silly circumstance that really had no meaning, no bearing on anything that's going on in this reality. And it was because I made a choice to make a simple circumstance important. I narrowed my focus to so much that the only thing that was in sight was the circumstances at hand, and not being able to step back and see the bigger picture, which is what I've been working on, which is why I've been testing myself with this most recent set of circumstances, and navigating my way back out of that narrow scope, which I was able to do when this all started a couple days ago. Again, I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I was extremely upset and frustrated, and it really derailed me. I was really nothing. I couldn't focus on anything. Became obsessive over it, which again is my nature, to become obsessive over things. And I was able to step back and take a look at the bigger picture, because when things like that happen, I get so distracted that I don't notice the beautiful things around me, and I'm starting to be able to use the beauty that surrounds us to help break those locked in moments of focus that are non-beneficial to anybody. And so getting up in the morning and taking appreciation for the sunrise and the actual beauty of the characteristics of it allows me to drive a wedge between myself, my focus, my drive, my obsession, and the circumstance itself. And I was able to use that a day ago, and like, wow, I can't believe I did this. Well, then it came back, and it came back with more force, and I was absolutely enraged yesterday. I was ready to hunt this person down and terminate them. I wanted them dead. I wanted them. I judgmentally decided that they had no reason to be existing in this world, because their ignorance isn't adding anything beneficial to anything. But I was wrong, because it was. It was adding another test for myself to see if I could navigate my way back and make these greater understandings of myself and my approach, and further bolster my theories that we have the ability to change everything in our lives. Everything is subject to your consciousness, to your understanding, and this is no different. And it's given me no different than lifting weights to work your biceps and build a body. It's given me the ability to exercise those practices of stepping away and widening your scope again, and not letting those circumstances possibly ruin or end your life. And because it's a downward spiral, and you can get sucked down into that and may never get out of, and it may take years to get out of. So I had a really long night last night again, and I had a really kind of a frustrating day. Got home, had a super intense cardio workout last night because I had so much anger and so much anxiety built up. But I was so enraged. I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make my first video, and I'm going to do it tonight, and I'm going to talk about this. And I sat down in front of the computer screen and I started to record, and it was driving me crazy because I was looking back at myself and I'm like, is my fucking forehead that big? It looks terrible. How is this possible? And I could not get past that. Again, my scope was narrowing. It was a narcissistic view of, how did my hair get so thin in the front? Why do I look so much like my brothers? It was just little things that were going through my head. But you know what? It took my mind off a lot of things. It really was a distraction from what I was mad about. And by the time it was all said and done, I recorded 10 minutes of video. And there was a few things that I thought, because I watched it back, which I didn't think I would be able to, but I enjoyed it, even though I got past the idea of the large forehead. It helped. It was cathartic. I was able to use that unintentionally to clear my mind, and I was able to sit down, and I was able to work on my class and fulfill my obligations on that front, and get through with my evening. Made some dinner, sat down, but I felt run down and somewhat exhausted before we went. I felt exhausted when we went to bed. I felt like I could lay down and go to sleep and sleep for days. And I slept hard throughout the night. I woke up this morning when the first alarm went off, and I was not even really coherent. I was able to snooze or turn off each of the alarms as they went off, but I had no concept of the time in between or how many had gone off, which I generally track and am very consciously aware of, even in a semi-conscious state. So I was gone last night, and even when the final alarm went off, I just sat there for a second. I went right back to sleep, and then I woke up in a panic because I had slept 6 minutes longer than my normal routine. And I'm all about my routine in the morning. It has to be boom this time, boom this time, boom this time, and that's again more of my obsessive nature. But it keeps me focused. It keeps me in line. Keeps me efficient through the day to take care of the things that I am obligated to take care of, or that I have obligated myself to take care of. And I was not clear, was not focused when I got out, and I had vague remnant flashes of the dreams that I had from last night, and they all included something out of my past neighbors, past wives, past family experiences, past homes, different things like that. So it was a lot of past-driven stuff, which is an interpretation in my mind of whatever I was doing last night. But it was a growth period for me. It was a growth cycle. And it's allowed me this morning to have, I wouldn't say new perspective, because it's the same perspective that I have when I feel clear, but it's allowed me to have that clear perspective and that ability to talk about it and express it, which has been fantastic. So this recording has gone much better than I thought it would. It went much better than I thought my video recording, which I deleted, by the way, is determining that it had no merit whatsoever. So as much as I'd like to move into that medium of presenting, I can get the words out right, presenting my my situation, my case, the way I live my life, whatever, however you want to term it, the voice recordings right now are serving better. And it was a nice dry run to get through that, to get used to making a recording and seeing myself on the computer and possibly shifting into that cycle. So I am at the property I need to be at, and I've been here for a few minutes in the driveway, and I'm going to finish this up. But I think that went well. I think I accomplished everything that I intended to accomplish this morning, which I didn't have any intention of when I left the house this morning, but just kind of sprung on me as I was driving here, and I acted on it, and I feel like I have some positive results, so I feel good about it. So